Lost Potato is a small arcade game where the player is given no way to directly destroy the enemies. Instead, you can only shove them. Luckily, there are floor spikes and other traps you can use in the level. It immediately turns into trying to identify the easiest and quickest way to dispatch the enemies. The developer takes the main mechanic and runs with it, which makes Lost Potato interesting to talk about. It's fun in a challenging and hectic way, but also nails the just one more run feeling. You play a little potato guy who, for some reason, enters the arena without any weapons. What are you doing, man? That's okay. As I mentioned before, there will be something in the arena to help you out, like floor spikes or a spike ball, and your goal is to knock all the enemies into whatever you got. The starting trap is randomized, which can be a little annoying if you have a favorite, but the rounds only last 3 to 5 minutes, so I end up playing it out anyway. You never know what's going to happen. The key here is the traps are only dangerous to your enemies. They don't hurt you. So feel free to run through those spikes and the enemies chasing you will be impaled. Lost Potato turns into a combat puzzle, trying to stay out of harm's way but line up enemies to be destroyed on the traps. There are so many different ways to play. For example, if you end up with a lot of floor spikes, many of the enemies will be destroyed on their own, but you'll likely have to push a few of them to their death, which can be a little more dangerous. It's also more passive than playing with the ball shooter traps. Those will only hit enemies if you hit the ball into them. The strategy changes to playing at more of a distance. I prefer to have a mix of traps since there are far too many situations where one is better than the other. While you start with only one trap, you will be able to add more as you go. About every 3 levels, you choose an upgrade. They're completely random, so sometimes you'll get a potato upgrade or a trap upgrade, and other times you'll get a new trap added to the arena. They're only explained by the drawings, which may bother some players. However, after a few runs, I figured them out. Normally, I get annoyed with missing information, but when rounds are this short, there's always another run right around the corner. Managing the upgrades is important because selecting between them is a balancing act. More traps versus powering up the potato. I've tried wading way too deep into a run to get more traps. It was a terrible mistake. When over 10 enemies are crawling around on the screen, it's impossible to knock them all into one little square of floor traps. I don't think you can have too many traps, but then you've ignored upgrades. Being able to push enemies more is extremely useful. So it's trying to choose the best upgrade for your situation. If you make a mistake, that's okay. There's always another run right around the corner. Still, it's a great system and each run is unique. I love how many different ways there are to play. My playstyle right now is focused on getting a lot of floor spikes and trying to increase my speed and push power. But I gotta change it up to something else. It's not really working. Luckily, you only need to change your attire if you want to have a different run. To add some variety, the developer created new potato outfits that give you starting upgrades and downgrades. For example, the tiny hat gives you more strength, but 1 less heart. Definitely going to be a more difficult run. These are fun, and once I get frustrated playing with one, I swap to another one. There's a separate score tracker for each. Hey, if you think this art style looks familiar, then you might remember the developer's other game, Space Gladiators Escaping Tartarus. That one is in early access right now, but it's just about feature complete. I enjoyed playing it, and I have a video on the channel if you want to check that out. That one is a roguelike platformer if you're into it. Overall, Lost Potato is what it is. A simple arcade game that I'm enjoying. I must get a higher score! The super punchy combat and fast gameplay have me hooked. I ended up playing for far longer than I expected to for writing this review. It's hard to put down.
Welcome to the best club on the internet, those who watch to the end of the video. I'm in it. You have my gratitude, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, now's the best time to do it. Thanks for watching.